I think one of the things that has always intrigued me with the people in Mesquite, and it's a good thing for elected officials and appointed officials, it can be a bad thing for them also, is that people in Mesquite are not afraid to speak up. We just had the issue with the shared use path that you know, people voice their opinions, and they're not afraid to get involved when these kinds of situations come up. So that's a good and that's a bad, I think, depending on how you might want to look at it. But I've always admired the people, the local residents of Mesquite, for their sheer involvement, and they just don't be quiet sometimes.
Mark, I see it as a good thing. An involved electorate, and my understanding is there's an extremely involved electorate here, I think is a very positive thing for the city. It's certainly positive and helpful to the elected officials as well. I don't know too much about the path issue that you mentioned, but I had heard that the process was improved and revised because of citizen input.
Right.
Again, that's a really good example, I think, of how an involved electorate can generate a better outcome. Frequent communication is a key too, and one of the things I would like to see the city do, and I believe we have some presence on Facebook already, but social media, I think, is very popular. It's going to become even more popular. Practically everybody, and maybe a number of people most people under 40 and a few over, have a Facebook presence, and Facebook, I think, is being used by our leisure services, may even be used to some extent by our police department.
Right.
I would like to see more of that sort of thing. I would like to see a presence on Twitter. I can give you a quick example. When I was town administrator in Newcastle, we used Twitter. We had a street closure because of a water main break, and we would send out periodic tweets to let people know where we were in the process. So
that's a great idea.
So I think that kind of thing really helps and draws people in. I don't know if there's necessarily a place for texting, but I communicate with some of my staff member here via texting, and it works. And to the extent I can do that, we can get people involved that way. That would be fine. So again, I'm going to be looking for ways to communicate more frequently and more creatively with residents.
I know last night at the budget hearings that Dirk was talking about updating the city's website and making it a little easier to use and things like that. So that seems to kind of play right into what you're speaking about, using the technology and social media that's available today.
The website is critically important, not just to the city government, but to the entire community. It's a portal to the outside world, and I think people who are thinking about opening up a business in Nevada, they come to a website that looks pretty shabby or this hasn't been well maintained. And I'm not saying Mesquite's has been that way. I think ours has been good. I think having a really good website and one that people can use from outside the community and inside the community is a real important thing, and I'm certainly looking forward to working with Dirk to develop a new website. We've got great IT people working here. They're very creative. You noticed some of that creativity last night during the budget meeting. I wish I had been creative enough to come up with a presentation like that. So I really commend them on what they're doing and want them to do more of it.
Okay, good. You know, and I do think that is, especially with the kind of population that we have, where we have a lot of snowbirds that are not here during the summer. People are always on the go. So I think that is a really important communication tool. Some of us nerds, you know, we want your to-do list put on the website, you know, as far as documents go and things like that. So, you know, I think you're going to make a lot of people happy if you increase that. I know Elaine Hurd is going to love you for the tweet idea, the Twitter idea that you want. She's trying to start up a really dynamic Twitter communication in Mesquite. But I'm just always surprised at how wired and I mean that technology-wise, how wired people here in Mesquite seem to be.
That's a good thing to hear, because that makes communication easier still. The other side of that, Barb, is that there are a number of people who are not as technologically savvy as maybe perhaps most of the people are, and they need to be reached out to as well. There are ways of doing that, and perhaps these neighborhood council meetings might serve that kind of purpose. So I recognize that not everybody is wired, and I certainly want to include those that aren't in the bigger picture as well.
Okay.